Welcome back, Gemsy. I say welcome back because Gemsy's already done a phenomenal testimonial for us, but things have changed since that last one, which was already really good, on all the shifts that she made and all the up levels she's experienced since putting herself first and doing soul to soul. And now what you're looking at is a goddess who is in her soulmate relationship. And Gemsy, I'll just let you share with us, where you're from, how old you are, all that good stuff.
Yeah, so I'm Gemma. I like to be called Gemsy, and I'm 37, soon to be 38, and I live in Cardiff, which is in Wales, UK.
Yes. And Gemsy, for those of you that haven't seen, a couple of things we posted from Gemsy. The first thing we posted in the free group was a long message from her when we had a very short breakthrough call, because she was just really very sad, in a very dark place of just giving up, And so I said, look, I can't help you right now, because she was just very shut down, and she just wasn't letting herself really show up on the call. And then, no joke, by the next morning, I received this massive long message from her, just fighting for her dream, saying, no, this is exactly what I want. You're absolutely right. I was holding back. And I want you to really hear that right now, if you know that you're holding back with your dream, because things unfold for everyone very differently. Some people come on a first call and they enroll. Other people we send away 3 times. For Gemsy, she was in her own way on the first call, but then she came back full throttle saying, I am doing this. And this was all her. And so I got on a call the next day with a very different human being, someone that was actually ready to fight for herself, someone that was ready to really open up her soul. And it's only from that place, when you're truly ready to let support in, that me and anyone else on the planet can actually help you. And that takes a lot of courage. And I just wanted to share that so you can really get a sense of where Gemma was to where she truly is now. And what I'm speaking to is her human spirit saying, I'm done. Like, I'm done with being sad. I'm done with playing small. I'm done with pretending that I've got this. And now look where she is. So we'll fast forward. She's already been in Soul to Soul, and we will touch on that. But I just want to get straight to the story and the update of the unfolding, of meeting this divine man. What does it feel like being with him? Like, I'm just going to let you wax lyrical for a little bit, to let us all in on how different this relationship feels to anything else you've had.
Yeah, and boy, does it feel different. So where to begin? We actually met online on Bumble, which was really a site that I didn't particularly vibe with. So I was really a bit like ambivalent about it. I was a bit like, who knows? The funny thing about it was, so leading up to it, and I've shared this, I think, with the other queens, because I think it's important, and maybe it helps, like, for them to know, like, the process I went through, like, when he arrived, because I think we all have, like, certain blockages to what's stopping our soulmate come in. And for me, I think it was impatience was a big thing for me. And yeah, I went through this whole process of surrender, like leaning into surrender and learning into like letting go of like the how, and also like, yeah, not being impatient. And I remember I just went for a run one day, and I just thought, this just occurred to me, like you were saying, it was like my soul speaking to me, a bit like when I had that big download when I came to Soul to Soul. Now I realized that was my soul speaking. And it was just like, I suddenly had this feeling where I felt in my body, I was like, you need to slow down, like slower actually feels better in dating. And that's what I just did. And I suddenly became very like chilled about the whole dating thing. Wasn't really bothered, just like swiping, but in a very sort of lackadaisical way. Still intentional, but not like, there was just not that pressure that I'd put on it before.
Yes.
And I swiped.
I think
I don't actually remember swiping yes to him at all. But because I'm so present, I tend to not remember things now. It's really bizarre. But yeah, so anyway, when it came up, I saw the picture and I was just like, yeah, maybe. But I read the profile underneath and I was just like, oh yeah, it said something about snowboarding, which is really actually hilarious, because Oh, sorry, Grace. Sorry, I think I've just woken up my housemate. Sorry, Grace. Sorry, Liz. I've just woken up. I thought I'd come in here and be quiet. Anyway, sorry, it's 6 a.m. here, so I've just woken up my housemate and she's come down very confused.
For a good reason, sharing about love, so sure.
Yeah, no, she'll be fine. So I'll try and speak a bit quieter. So yeah, and I just read it, and I basically like felt something, you know, and it wasn't just about snowboarding. It was he just said some things there that like really resonated with me, and I was like, oh, that I think that's why I must have said yes. Anyway, we started chatting, and the initial chat was about snowboarding, and then it was just so funny because that's like obviously a really minimal thing, and that was almost like a little. I didn't have that in my love mission statement, but it was kind of like almost like a side joke that I would love some, like as an extra bonus, it'd be great if he snowboarded because I love it so much. But what actually unfolded was we just started having this conversation and it was just mind blowing. Like, I don't know, he was so present, he showed up so much. There was none of that game playing. There was none of that. It was just like easy back and forth. It wasn't intense and it wasn't like pushy, or it just actually like flowed. And literally from there, it's just flowed. Like our first date, I was just like, my mind was just getting blown by the things that he was coming out with. Like he was being vulnerable. Like he was talking about like his desire to like create intimacy, to have like the depth in a relationship, and even like, yeah, just things that I just didn't expect him to say. And we got to the end of the date and he just turned to me and he was like, this was amazing. And he's actually a really shy guy. He's really introverted. So he kept like, I was blown away by the fact that he was like sharing things that were really like vulnerable, really deep, and things that are hard to share on a first date. And I was like, wow. And I just walked away from it and I was like, that felt great, you know? And I know in the past I've always been a bit like, I would come away from dates and people were like, oh, how was it? And I would always be like, yeah, it was okay. But like, I couldn't like, there was nothing I could say that was negative. I was like, that was like, it was amazing. And I'd really like to see him again. And yeah, and then obviously it was in lockdown and stuff. So all we could do was go for walks. So like our first like 5-6 dates were just, let's go for a walk here. And well, which is, I love nature. So it was really amazing. And he does too. And to be honest, that wasn't, for us, it wasn't like anything that we wouldn't have wanted to do anyway, because that's what we like to do. So it was kind of quite natural. Yeah, and then just things have just built from there. But like, what's been really the two things that I would say like the most amazing about it are, it's come from this. It feels like we've like things have happened ultra fast because we've been together like 3.5 months, but like it's been from a really, really grounded place, but things have moved really fast. And I can't, like, we only see each other like twice a week, but it's just so beautiful every time we see each other. So we have like loads of fun. Like we do silly things together. I made him to make giant bubbles, like, and he like literally loved it. Like it's just as Gemsy loves to play, and he like loves that I love to play, and that like I push him to do that more because he's quite a hard worker. And yeah, we play and we have like these ultra deep like conversations that are so vulnerable. And like just this past weekend we both had like, we're both going through like deep things at the moment. I'm doing some deep inner work, and he's trying to resign from his job where he's not being treated well and step into his power and take on his own business which he's set up. And there's been a lot of fear around that, and we've like been able to like really sit together and talk about it and talk through his fears, and he's held space for me, and there's been tears shed on both sides. And it's just so beautiful because for both of us we've never had that space held for each other. Like we've never had someone where we could truly like open up to them and let ourselves be held, both of us in separately. We have lots of.
I want to jump in right now because what I'm really getting more than anything that I want you girls to really hear is that before Gemsy said, yeah, I'd come away from dates and it was like, they're all right, like they were fine. And I know many of you feel like that. I know I've certainly felt like that, where it's like you're just going through the motions, and honestly, you weren't even expecting the date to really rock your world anyway. It's just like this disbelief, and you're just putting yourself through hoops of like, well, I better just put myself out there. But then when Gemsy has done the work now, what she's really attracted in is the deepest version of herself, with vulnerability, with a heart open, with a much deeper connection to herself, with way higher self-worth and deservability and reverence for self. That's exactly what she is getting mirrored back to her. And that's what I want you girls to really hear and see right now. This is the big shift. Okay, so Gemsy didn't like online particularly, but she didn't let that stop her as a way of attracting in her soulmate, because she's ready, right? She wasn't putting any obstacles in the way, because sometimes we can say, well, I don't like online, or if COVID wasn't here, then I would be out in person, but it's none of those things. Gemsy attracted in her soulmate during a pandemic. And even though she wasn't a fan of online, she was like, well, I'm feeling called to go on there, so let me just get out of the way and do it. And it's because she's put all her focus and love into herself. And that's where you're going to get the monumental shift from. It wasn't like suddenly there's a good guy on Bumble. There are plenty of good guys on Bumble and other apps. It's not the apps, it's us, it's you. It's just that Gemsy got into a place where she was ready to truly, truly receive the kind of love that she had been doing the work on to actually align with. And then surprise, surprise, she gets ready, he shows up. He's ready, Gemsy shows up. And now they're both coming together, experiencing this really deep, soulful, connected, I say effortless because when it's right, it is effortless. It's just, she said, we meet twice a week, but I could feel in the meetings that it was like, you guys have been together in other lifetimes, and those 2 times a week just like fill you up like you've been meeting for 6 days straight. Like that's what I hear when you say that. I don't hear only 2 days a week. I hear these full heart connected, like 2 days is actually a lot when you're having that much connection. That's what I hear. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's how it feels. Yeah.
This is us just clinically going through, well, I'm only seeing my boyfriend 2 days a week and I wish it was more. You didn't hear that from Gemsy. And yet someone else's story would literally be in lack, going, well, I want it to be going deeper. I want it to be him to be prioritizing more. If she was seeing him 1 day a fortnight, it would have been the same energy, because it's about the connection. It's about the intimacy. It's about the unspoken commitment that Gemsy's already feeling, where she's like secure and excited, and there's nothing to question when you're in that kind of love. Really, it wouldn't matter if you saw him once a month. It's that unspoken connection that we're all living for. We all want that. We all want to feel loved and supported and cherished. And when you get that, it doesn't matter how often you see someone. And of course, you're heading down the path where you're going to be moving in together and creating family, and all of that is coming. Because I said to Gemsy, the only thing I asked her offline was, so is he a soulmate? And she's like, oh yeah. So that's the kind of response that I want you girls to get excited by, because I will tell you right now, it wasn't that long ago that I was on a breakthrough call with Gemsy, who had given up, who was not in her heart, who was completely cerebral, and she is very bright. She's done PhDs. She's a bright cookie like many of you, but she was miserable. And now who you're looking at is an embodied woman in her sovereignty, who got done with missing out, who got done with her victimhood and her abandonment and not enoughness and her disbelief that she couldn't have this, and went, I'm fucking having that. And that's a non-negotiable. And that was the woman that reached out to me after our breakthrough call, that told me clear as day, I am going to do this work and I'm going to change my life. And I kid you not, those words have come true, because when we get that fight for ourselves, when we get that determination of like, I'm going to do whatever it takes, this is the outcome. This just is the outcome. And it has been a journey for Gemsy. She didn't just arrive there on the 8th day of the 8th week of Soul to Soul. I want to be really real about that. People say to me, am I going to meet my soulmate at the end of the 8 weeks? I go, no, we don't place a man at your door. That's not how life works. What you're going to do is commit to yourself and prioritize yourself and learn to fall in love and deeply accept yourself in a way that you can't even describe. When people say to me, I want the kind of love that I don't even have words for, I was like, that's what we do in Soul to Soul, where you create that with yourself. And Gemsy, I watched the transformation. She did not give up. this is what I can say and celebrate. Gemsy got the fire back, and she was not going to let go, and she did whatever it was going to take. And at times it was very triggering, very uncomfortable. Is this going to work for me? Right? That's the truth.
Oh yeah.
But she didn't give up. So, darling, there's someone at the door. So, yeah, I just wanted to kind of recap on that, because especially as we haven't dug into all of Gemsy's story, I just wanted to bring in a bit of the backstory, because we don't need to go on and on about it, but she wasn't in a healthy place at all. And on paper, if you'd looked at, darling, the door. Sorry, guys, we're in quarantine. We've got people knocking on our door. Okay. If you'd looked at Gemsy's life on paper, you would have gone tick, tick, tick. PhD, bright girl in the medical world, gorgeous. You know, you would have been like, nothing wrong here. But inside, she was dying inside. That's really what it felt like. There's someone at the door. Coming. So ridiculous. Constantly out of town. So yeah, I'd really love. I'd love to hear the main thing, Gemsy. I know everyone's like, I want to meet my soulmate. I want to meet my soulmate. But what was the thing that stood out for you about your personal journey, with something that really clicked in for you, where you're now able to receive this kind of love?
So many things. For me, I really do feel like it was the surrender piece, the not being impatient piece.
Oh, I got flowers.
Oh, that's for me. It says Mr. Mom.
Well, anyway, it was a perfect time to have flowers. Sorry, everyone, but this is quarantine. Sorry, Gemsy, I didn't want to cut you off. Family's, little girl's falling apart right now. But this is kind of ironic, isn't it? That she's like crying and everything, because there was a lot of little girl stuff. So,
oh yeah. Sorry. You know, and she still pops up. The little girl's still there. She didn't go away. She pops up every now and again. But the difference is I know when it's her, and I acknowledge her. And he even he knows about the little girl. So like, if something triggers me, well, he can see it straight away, because he knows me. He sees that, because he's never not seen that bit of me where I kind of shut down when the little girl comes up. He's like, hang on. He's like, what's happening? He's like, come back to me, talk to me.
She's now playing and laughing. And he's now playing and laughing. And I feel like when you're talking, he loves your playful side. Yeah. But he's also there for the little girl who gets triggered as well. And he's not scared of that.
No, he's not. He's not. And he's not scared of anything. I mean, in 3.5 months, you know, the things I said, it's really, really grounded. But we've talked about marriage. We've talked about engagement rings. We've talked about children. This weekend, we talked about yesterday, just it's not me, it's him. He brings the conversation up. So we were talking about, we were just over at he's doing a house renovation. I'm helping him. And he said to me, I saw all about Maui had come up somewhere, and I was like, oh, I really want to go to Maui. It was actually Mariana that put me onto that. But yeah, I was like, it's this really beautiful spiritual place and blah, blah, blah. And he's like, gosh, when we go on our honeymoon, there'll be so much choice, because you've traveled so much and I haven't, and you know so many places, and I can't wait to for us to go through that process of deciding where feels good for us, you know. And he's not it's strange that all his strengths and my strengths are quite different, and we're not intimidated by each other's strengths. I mean, he is literally incredible. He's a sustainability architect, he's a joiner, he's all the things I asked for. There's some really funny things as well. I really like big, strong, manly hands, and he's actually quite he's actually not a really sort of stocky kind of bloke. He's quite slim, but he's got hands like buckets. They're really amazing hands, and it's so funny. And it wasn't on my love mission statement, but it's something that Gemsy likes, and it's here you go, you can have this extra bonus of these spade hands. But those are just extras. What the truth is that everything that I felt as my love mission statement, how he was going to feel when I felt into him and dreamt him every single day, and I did that every day until I met him. Always felt into him, felt into his energy. What's he like? And now he's here. He is exactly that. I mean, he's more, because there was obviously some things that I wasn't almost allowing myself to receive. but he's like that and so much more, like so much more. And like the things like what he does, it's irrelevant really, like, and I keep telling him like, it's not that, it's like the person that you are. That's what I love, like, is it's the person inside, and that's what, you know, that's why I choose you. And yeah, it's incredible. We have like, I express myself so much when I've never been able to express myself before in a relationship, but he also does the same. And it's like, we don't feel like it's too much. It's not heavy. There's no heaviness in it because there isn't that like neediness. So it's not like you're trying to like say it so that the other person, to make the other person feel something or to draw them in. You're not, you're just expressing because that's what's on your heart. And there's so much of that, like giving and receiving, which is unconditional rather than like, oh, I'm, and I don't know, I think in past relationships I've said things because I'm trying to like get a reaction or whatever. It's not that. Like in fact, it's only 3 months, but we're already in love. Like, and for me, I knew from the beginning, and I kind of loved him from the beginning, and that love has just grown. Like, it's not, I'm in love, I'm out of love. Like,
but it's not superficial. It's not easy, isn't he? Yeah. What you're speaking to is they're the qualities that really, really happen, girls. We're not talking just about a relationship in soul to soul. You don't do soul to soul and this deep work just to have a relationship. What you can see in Gem's energy is it's this knowing, it's certainty, she's calm, she's trusting. There's no having to figure anything out. It's not, oh my God, I think he likes me. From the very beginning, when I said to you, hey, is he your soulmate? You're like, yeah. Like, but in the past, there's no way you were saying yeah about anyone. You were like, so when you're that certain, that's how easy love can actually be. I want you to really hear that. So often women are scared to let love in because we think that it's complicated. We think that it's drama and can be dangerous and can be painful and all of these things. But there's not enough people talking about the fact that true soulmate love, when you're with the right person, it's easy and expansive and fucking hell, like there are no words for it. It just is. And that's what you're talking about right now, that is palpable. You're just relaxed. You're not all like, oh my God, let me talk about this guy and Lucy, you're not like that.
No, well, because I'm grounded in myself. And that's another like huge thing that I've realized. There's two things. Yeah, I've realized that actually, in the past, like I was so like needy and like, so he would like leave and I'd be like, oh, like a bit empty and like a bit like, oh, what am I going to do now? And like lost without him. I'm not, like literally, like sometimes I'm actually ready for him to leave because it's almost like I've had my fill and now I'm like, I actually need some Gemsy time. Like I need some time for myself to just be with me, like, because I love being with myself. I love spending time with myself and I need it now. It's not just a want, it's like I have to have that, and he needs it space too, and like we just give each other that, and it's like we feel our way and we're like, okay, yeah, time to have space now. And we had to have some conversations around that, not because we weren't giving it to each other, but because we're like almost like very aware of the things that could become issues if we don't communicate about them. So we're like, I'd love, like, I want to communicate about space. I read this article, so like we read it together, and then like about the importance of space. And so like we were like, yeah, and then we talked about like what we want, what each of us feels, and we're both like, yeah, we need that space. And yeah, like I said, when it's not like he's here and I'm flying and he leaves and I'm still flying, not because of him, because I'm me, and I'm like, yeah, I come back to more Gemsy time now, and like, what do I want to do? And I love doing my garden and my plants and like my life, like I love my life. So yes, he is the cherry.
That's what I want you girls to hear right now. That right there is everything.
It's
right?
Everything.
Yeah. Gemsy loves him and she loves her more, and it's always going to be like that. Like, that's what we're talking about, that she adores him. The only reason she can let in that love and receive is because she's got herself now on the pedestal. No one else, not him, not love. She's got Gemsy. And so when he leaves, as she said, she's not suddenly like a bird with a broken wing. She's just like, I was full when he came over and I'm full when he leaves. That is what soul to soul is about creating a deep, heart-connected soulmate relationship with yourself that you build upon for the rest of your life, because that is the most sacred relationship we will ever have, is with ourselves. We come into the world alone and we leave alone, which I think think is like a really big thing to wrap your head around.
Mm.
But in this lifetime, when you do connect and have that soulmate love, you get to share your life with someone right up until those final moments, you know, and there's nothing, you can't put a price on filling up your life with that kind of love. That's just, I mean, when we're in that love, it only amplifies your ability to receive. Like I see so many career women that are like, I'll wait until I get the next promotion to get to a relationship, you know, or I need to pay off all my debts in order to get ready for a relationship. And we have all of these stupid conditions on what we think we've got to do before we let someone in. But the truth and the irony is that when you let love in, it's only going to make you happier and healthier and attract in pay rises, job opportunities, and all of the things. And that's something that I used to hide behind. Like, I've got to get more along my path. I've got to be more this. No, I made a decision like Gemsy did that went, I am not going to continue on at the other end of my 30s alone when I could be actually experiencing my life and intimacy with someone that's got my back. And truly, I can say it for me, having my soulmate in my life has only completely 10x'd the quality of my life and had me grow much deeper than I would on my own. And I was really good single. Like, I was going out and doing things. No. I've learned more in the short 6 years with Anam than I would have in 16 years on my own. And Gemsy, right now, you can already speak to the fact that even just 3 months in, the depth and what you're learning, you can't learn that anywhere else when you're with someone.
Yeah, it's exponential. The growth is exponential. I mean, not only seeing the work in real time and like really flexing the vulnerability muscles, really flexing the self-expression muscles, but I'm still learning. There's still things, I'm not perfect, he's not perfect, there's still things, but the beauty is that we both want to grow together. Like, he's really interested in personal growth, like he sees how it will benefit all areas of his life, you know, so he's actually invested in a personal development program that he's going through at the moment, and it wasn't pushed by me, he was inspired by me but not pushed by me, you know. And that was something I think I was very aware of, as not like that risk of like my old fixer tendency, and I've been very conscious of not doing that. But yeah, it's all the time there are things that like just constantly we're just growing together, and like he holds a space for me and I hold a space for him, and I'm not perfect at all, and there's little things that there's still loads of things that I need to grow into and strengthen, but there's no push to do that. But the actual relationship brings in those things, like opportunities like are like abundant, and like, yeah, you can seize them and take them. But we're also aware of keeping that balance of like growing, but also like being present and having fun, and just allowing the relationship to blossom in its own way, as well as like not like controlling it or like forcing anything. It's very much like, oh, this thing's come up and like, okay, I feel really compelled to talk about it. Okay, now let's go and play tennis, or like, you know, whatever it might be. A funny thing about effortless as well, I want to mention this because it's hilarious, because that was like the first word on my love mission statement, and probably about 3 or 4 weeks into meeting him, he literally said like, the word I would use to describe what's going on here is effortless. And I laughed and I had to show him my love mission statement, because that word was literally the word. Like, yeah, it's brilliant, because it's like sometimes, well, not after the first day, I thought, hang on a minute, is this guy like hacked into my life or something? Because it was just too much almost. It was too much synchronicity. Yeah, and the universe gives us little funny things where we're like the same on like really weird things, like we're the same, and it's like he'll say something really like completely random. I can't think of a good example right now, and I'll be like, yeah, me too. And he's like, what? And I'm like, yeah, same. Yeah, it's
honestly, Anam and I'm so used to it now, but I'll be thinking of something completely random or something we haven't been speaking about, and I'll just be in that thought, and then he'll just start speaking to that, and then vice versa. Yeah. And you know, after a while, you're just like, okay, we're clearly tuned into the same channel, because you just can't make it up. And that truly is what the essence is of this whole conversation is. We are all energy, and you're either vibrating at a very low, wounded, not enough energy, and you'll attract that in, or you go and do the work, get the support, put yourself up here and go, I am love, I am whole, no one is perfect, like not one person on the planet. So why would I even try to be? And this person will come and they're not perfect, but they're whole, they're complete. They want love. They're ready to bring their heart in. And this is the different type of love. So, you know, I just want those of you listening to this, I'm getting so much joy from it. I'm sorry the Wi-Fi is a bit crap because we're in quarantine, but I didn't want to not do this with Gemsy, because I think especially during the pandemic, and we're halfway through, you know, 2021, and it's stories of hope like this that I personally like, that is something that I want. And I hear a story of hope, I'm like, I can have that. If she can have that, I can have that. And I want you all to be watching Gemsy and knowing where she came from and how shut down she was. Like she said, she was not self-expressed in relationships, and now effortless. She's just being her. And that is what the work is in Soul to Soul. Is it's not more complicated than that. It's falling in love with who you are, not who or how people want you to be or how you think you should be for the guy or for your parents, who you actually are, and then being that, and then attracting in from that place. And that is why what you're hearing from Gemsy does feel really exciting. And you're like, wow, you might be thinking, I didn't know love could actually be like that easy. And like Gemsy said, it was overwhelming with the synchronicities. But guess what? As someone that's observed her, she called all of that in. So as much as she might have been finding it a lot and overwhelming, I'm like, sister, of course that was what you were feeling, because you were up to playing a big game. And then when the universe brings it to you, you got to be ready, because the universe wants to bring us what our heart desires. It's just that we get really afraid of getting what we want. And so what I'm celebrating in Gemsy is she's staying open with her hands open to receive. And she's like, yes, please. Because what we can do when we haven't done the work is we call it in and then we push it away. And what you're hearing with Gemsy is a lot of stability, trust, grounded, trust of self more than anything. It's not about trusting the guy, it's trust of self. So while it's quiet, before like this little girl comes out to make lots of noise, I'm going to wrap it right there. And yeah, I'm just really, really, really over the moon excited for you. I'm not surprised at all, but I am very, very delighted and excited. It really, it makes me emotional when I've seen the journey.
Yeah.
And even I know. And I'm kind of watching it being like, wasn't it always like this? That's truly how I feel with how you are right now. That's Gemsy. Do you love her? That's Gemsy. So, okay, I've got to go now because little girl is going to be having a lot to say. And can women reach out to you if they have any questions?
Yeah, of course. Always, yeah.
And can you take it, Bella? What's one? No, because she doesn't want to go down. What's the one thing, Gemsy, you would say to these beautiful women right now that want this kind of love that you have, that are sick of holding back and playing small, living in scarcity, and you know how they feel because you were there? What's something you would say to them around, you know, the skepticism that could be coming up, like, well, that worked for her, but would it really work for me? You know what I mean? Like, what's something you want to say just to cut through all of that?
Well, I mean, I had all the same fears, of course, but it's about trusting and choosing yourself and choosing it every day. And yeah, it's a journey. It takes courage. It's not for the, you know, it's not for the faint-hearted, but we all have that courage inside, and we all deserve this. Like, we all deserve it. Like, you deserve it so much.
Yes.
And yeah, like, once you reach it, everything, the veil through which you see life is never the same again. And that's the gift. That's the gift. It's not what goes on out there, it's what goes on in here, and that's what you've got to shift. That's what you need to change. Yeah.
And it's never about the money. We can always find the resources. It's never about, is this going to work for me? We have a proven process, and we are very selective with who we invite in. We're not going to invite you in if you're going to complain through the whole 8 weeks. We're not going to invite you in if you're not going to show up and do the work. There's absolutely no point. So getting on a call with us is the first step. And then if we truly feel like you're ready and we can help you, then we'll show you what that looks like. And then the rest is up to you. That's really what this is, right? So big love to those of you really resonating with Gemsy's story. And yeah, I'm sure we'll be coming back again for engagements and all sorts of other news as well from you. I don't think this is going to be the last testimonial. I think there's a lot more magic to be sharing. All right. So thank you for coming on so early. And yeah, just basically watching the unfolding. Bella, come here. Big love.
Okay. Bye. Lots of love.
Bye.